How's it going, Tom?
It's going great. How are you, sir?
Good. So before I get into the nitty-gritty with you, I just want to ask you, how does it feel to finally be able to promote Loki again with the strike being over?
I'm so grateful to um, to SAG-AFTRA and the leadership for looking after its members, and relieved that um, on all sides a consensus has been found that seems good and reasonable, and happy to be back.
I know that you were very intimately involved in sort of crafting the story, especially this season. How does it kind of compare from when you were in the initial planning phase to how the finished product ended up looking like?
What's almost unique to this experience for me, and I think the others would say the same, is there was a sense of collective responsibility shared by a number of people who all synchronized their imagination, and everybody was working towards the same goal. It is, I think, quite ambitious. And those people are Kevin Wright, our producer, Eric Martin, our head writer, Catherine Blair on the writing team, our four directors, Justin Benson, Erin Moorhead, Dan DeLu, Kasra Farahani, also our production designer. I should also mention Michael Waldron and Kate Herron, the lead writer and the director of the first season, who built these beginnings. And all of our heads of departments and our regular crew and our cast. But we were trying to truly find poetic resolution to the story and connect it, that the things that were important to Loki were also going to be important to every other character, to Mobius, to Sylvie, to B-15, to Casey, to OB, to Renslayer, and also to the TVA. And it was principally this idea of excavating Loki's iconic line, "I am Loki of Asgard, and I am burdened with glorious purpose." Burden, glory, purpose. What do those things mean to these characters? What does it mean to the TVA? At the beginning of season one, Loki realizes his glorious purpose was completely fraudulent and without meaning, and is given a second chance. But also the TVA reveals that its purpose as an institution was less glorious and benevolent. So season two, everybody is in the dark. Everybody is going through a kind of existential crisis, and they have to rethink and redefine their sense of purpose. And that became like a key before a piece of music opens. That's where we were going to play in. Those themes: purpose, belonging, identity. Do we really believe in free will? Are we really in charge of our own story? How do you rewrite your story? You can only know where you're going if you know where you've been. You have to make peace with the past in order to move forward into the future. I feel very satisfied with where we ended up. I hope it's moving, and I hope it's moving to the audience. It was a wonderful experience. It was really thrilling, very alive. The experience on set was really live. So I feel proud of it.
In the last episode, it's very big and climactic. What were kind of your thoughts running through your head as you were kind of filming those final scenes? Because obviously for you, it's been a very long journey playing Loki.
Yeah.
And it very, like I said, again, very climactic, big ending for his character.
Yeah. I felt moved by the many years that I played the character, and I was really in those scenes towards the end. The people who co-created the character with me were very alive in my mind. All the directors, all the writers, all the actors. Especially I think probably that first experience on the first Thor movie, with Kenneth Branagh and Chris Hemsworth and Anthony Hopkins and Rene Russo and Idris Elba, Natalie Portman, and our writer of that, Don Payne, the screenwriter, who created such a poignant beginning for Loki. And I think the journey, I was very aware of how far the character had come, how much time I had spent, playing this character, and it felt very significant in a way that was really helpful. I just felt like I was carrying them all in my heart, and that felt useful for the scene.
I mean, theoretically, Loki could time slip anywhere, but if he had the opportunity, do you think that he would go back to Infinity War and try to change the fate of his death at the beginning?
That is an excellent question, and one I have not been asked until you asked it, sir. My instinctive response is he would be tempted, but he would choose not to go back there and change the outcome, because I believe that he's arrived at where he is because of the journey he's taken to get there. And that moment is a huge part of the journey. If that hadn't happened, then he wouldn't have learnt the lessons he learns in the Time Theater in season 1, and therefore he wouldn't have been set on this path. So I think he would have been tempted to look, but ultimately would have understood that he's so grateful for where he is that he wouldn't change any of the steps that it takes him to get there. Maybe he would. I don't know. Loki's not me. So I'll mull on that one. It gets tempting, right? You'd be tempted to, but then he's messing with the timeline. And that's the sort of stuff that He Who Remains was doing. So
in terms of this journey that you've been on, would you say that this is kind of a permanent closing the door on the character, or would you be open to reprising Loki in the future in maybe the form of a different variant, or where do you kind of see that?
In the past, I've said goodbye to the character and written my thank you notes and been in touch with all the guys at Marvel Studios, and they've always said, feel free to drop by anytime. We'll always be part of the family. And then a year later, the phone rings going, we've had an idea. So I think at this point, I don't feel anything. I keep an open heart and an open mind. I'm really pleased with where we landed. It feels significant and profound and correct. But I think time will tell, I suppose.